How are you guys doing today? Welcome. I got some news that just came out this morning with some earnings. I had posted it on Telegram channel, and I also posted on X. So we're going to take a look at that because it has to do with how institutions they just always seem to be able to know the right times to get into stocks and get out of stocks. I mean, when you understand the supply and demand dynamics and how institutional money comes in and out and how you can locate it on the charts, you start to see a picture being told of how the big money um, many times, many times are able to know beforehand that earnings are going to be terrible or earnings are going to be great. It's just incredible how it always seems to work out so well for them. So we're going to be taking a look at that. And if there's any stocks that you want me to take a look at, please let me know down below in the comments section. And I'll devote a little bit of time today to do that, to take a look at those stocks. Anything that you're looking at, anything that you're thinking about buying, or maybe you're already in and you're thinking about exiting, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll take a look at it. All right. Very good. So first of all, let's start by taking a look at, let's bring it up here, my charts. Okay, so let's start by taking a look here briefly at the S&P 500, shall we? And let's reduce the size of me. There you go, that's better. Good. All right. You want to take a look at CL later, Colgate? We can do that. All right, so let's take a look here. S&P 500. First, let me do this. There you go. Beautiful. All right. So, we see that some demand has been contacted. We've been talking about this before. Demand has been contacted, price has moved up, and it is holding this ascending structure quite well so far. So far, the market is telling us that it's likely going to continue higher. Okay, so let's move on to NASDAQ. Here, this one, on the other hand, it's really getting close to breaking through this trend line. It's holding for now, but for this trend line to break, we need to see short-term selling, and this is what we're seeing here on the 2-hour chart, okay? On the 2-hour chart, we see selling coming in right here, which was able to push price straight down to contact the ascending trend line. So what took place? Buying came back into the market, so that trend line is holding, okay? This trend line is that trend line right there. So the ascending trend line right now on the daily chart is holding for now. But like I previously mentioned, there is no demand here that is being contacted. So it's very good chance that we see this demand or this trend line break and price head lower. But until it does, it's still holding, all right? So let's go over to Nvidia. So Nvidia, it plays a big role in this market, okay? And yesterday I was pointing out that we had an ascending trend line right here. That was holding until this period right here, okay? Until right there. So it broke the trend line. It came into an institutional buying area. And so there was short-term buying that took place off that institutional buying area. Short-term buying that was short-lived, okay? Because right here, it peaked. And let's take a look. Nvidia just came out with earnings after demand came into play. Earnings were positive, which allowed for this short-term move to the upside. But then what happened? After the positive earnings, they sold. Interesting. So, like I was saying before, how many times do we see these coincidences? Look, if the markets, if the stock was getting to a point where big money wanted to offload their positions, they would use good earnings to do that. All right. It's not the first time we've seen that happen. They've done this so many times. It's ridiculous. It's predictable. You know, especially when we have price coming into major institutional selling zones. All right. I track the buying and selling of the big institutions. So I locate selling zones that existed from the past because what happens is when price hits those selling areas, depending on how they're located, where they're located, all that sort of thing, we know with a high degree of certainty whether there's going to be a sell-off taking place from those areas of supply. When it comes to stocks like Nvidia, where it's at all-time highs, it's a little bit more trickier because there is no existing areas of supply that we can locate for price to be rallying up into. Um, so, uh, so to be able to know where they're going to sell off, it's difficult. But uh, this has enjoyed a really nice rally up. Okay, if you take a look. Okay, at some point they're going to want to take some profits, especially if they are seeing signs that this market needs a sell-off. Once everybody and their grandmother is going long, the banks don't want to help facilitate you to make money. Okay? That's how it works. Unfortunately, it's like that. How many times have you heard, um, when everybody's inside of something and everybody's talking about a stock, that's the time for you to get out? Because experience has shown that when a lot of people are interested in doing something, that's when the institutions start bailing, okay? The institutions want to buy when everybody's selling to them, and they want to ride the market up as they make money. They accumulate, accumulate. And then when everybody starts thinking, oh, it looks like this is going to go up, and they start buying and everybody's putting money in, that's when they offload. Because in order for them to facilitate all this buying, they need to be the market makers. So they're happy to do that because they bought when the price was lower. So they offload those positions to everybody else. And when there's no more institutional buying, the momentum stops, price tips over. So something happened here just recently. This was a break of an institutional buying area. So as you can see, good earnings came out. They used that to offload their long positions on Nvidia. It topped off here at the 150s. Price dropped. And then the area that was once previously used to push price upwards leading into earnings is now being removed. Okay? So when you look to the left of this chart, there is no institutional buying zones here. Okay? There's nothing to stop price from dropping here. The dam has been broken through. All right? The water is now gushing through the dam. This is the water gushing through the dam. Okay? What could happen is we could see a short-term rally. Sure, no problem. But over the medium term, what we're seeing here is more selling pressure is likely on Nvidia. Okay? And the interesting thing, like I said, is when you look at the NASDAQ, it's holding that trend line, but there's no buying there. It's just holding a trend line. It's like retail traders coming in and buying because they're drawing those trend lines, and their textbooks tell them to buy whenever there's retracements to their trend lines, so that's what they're doing. But it's not institutional buying holding that up, okay? Not from what I can see. So I'd be very careful with Nvidia because of that, right? If you're thinking about buying. Okay, so here's Dell. Here's another example of what happens, okay? And how the institutions know beforehand what's going to happen. I'll show you how they do this, okay? So let's take you on a journey here of price. This is Dell's stock, and it was doing extremely well, as you could see. It's very strong. We have institutional buying coming in, and look at this push up here, for instance, okay? From 85 to 125, that's pretty aggressive. Pretty aggressive move. So this is what we had. So we had a big push up, institutional buying. It pauses, it drops, it rallies, it drops again. And then what do we have? We have more institutional buying. So this is an institutional buying zone here. This is big money buying here. So between, 125 and give or take 117, big money is coming in and buying Dell. Okay. So this leads right into some really good earnings. Okay. So our candle's right here. Okay. This is a weekly chart. So the week before really good earnings, well, 1, 2, 3 weeks before really good earnings, they're buying the stock. So as you can see, they push price up from the 120s up to the 150s. Okay. So then some good earnings come out. All right. And take a look at the sell off. Okay. This is after a big run up, right? So this is when those articles start coming out and they're like, our 5 biggest picks for 2025. Dell. If you take a look at Dell, just earlier this year, we were at $80 and now we've doubled and it's at $160. And experts are saying that this is going to continue higher. And, all these articles, right, that get you excited. You weren't paying attention to Dell until this article came out. And you're like, oh, maybe I should start paying attention to Dell. Why should I buy Dell? And then they give you the whole argument as to why you should buy Dell and how good their earnings are and what the CEO said and what their projected sales are going to be for next year. And sounds great, right? But the big institutional money was buying here at $80. They were buying here at $120. Okay. Now, when prices rallied up so much, they know everybody is starting to pay attention because they have their little scanners and it's showing, oh, this stock has gone up this much in the last year. That's when the articles start coming out because now they're thinking, you know what, we want to sell our shares and take our profits. We've made a good profit. We doubled our money. We're looking to take profits. But in order to take profits, we need people to buy our shares from us. Well, how are we going to find people to take our shares from us? Cue the articles. So then you get the articles coming out, as I just mentioned, and in perfect timing with some good earnings. And then there's articles coming out about telling you about the good earnings. So guess what? Everybody starts piling in to buy as the banks are coming out and selling it to them gladly. So look at the big drop. Look at that big drop. What do you think that's from? Oh, but Kevin, it's dropping into an institutional buying zone, right? The one that you have mapped out here. So isn't that a good sign? Because the institutions are going to start buying again? Maybe. Maybe. Let's see what happens when it hits the institutional buying zone. Oh, reaction to the upside. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think happened after that big sell-off? How many people do you think bought Dell at 170 and got rid of it at 130? Probably a lot, right? Maybe some still held and they're like, damn it, if it just gets back up to 170, I'm getting rid of this stock. Because it looks so good, earnings were good. Like, what's going on here? It just ran up from $80 to 170. What's going on here? It's a good company. I read the article. The article is saying that it was good. CEO said this. Earnings were good. What's going on here? So it starts to rally back up, and now they're feeling some relief. Okay? Until banks come in, and look what happens to that demand area. Boom. You see what happens now to that demand zone? They remove it. Okay? So what used to be buying and came in with a little bit more buying afterwards is no longer buying. What is the main thing that is taking place here now is selling. Now that's all the banks are interested in. They sold up here. They sold up here. And now they're majorly selling here. Majorly. So much so that it causes such a dramatic drop to the downside. It's crazy. Why are they in such a rush to offload their positions? Wasn't this enough just offloading here and offloading here? Why do they have to offload a big ton of it? Well, Don't know. We follow along the storyline. So what happens? Price drops, and it drops to where? Oh, look, isn't that a buying zone that we had mapped out here? Isn't that an institutional buying zone that they were buying the stock here at 80 bucks? Maybe they offloaded their shares of Dell at 170 because they're interested in buying again back in the 80 area. Possibly. That's a good possibility. So let's see if they did that. And take a look. You see the buying coming in now? This is institutional buying. Okay. After such an enormous drop, what do you think retail traders were doing? The ones that bought at 170 and then they averaged down when it came to 130, you know, because the books tell you that. Oh, if you thought it was a good deal at 170, you'll think it's even a better deal at 130, right? Isn't that what the books say? So they buy at 130. What do you think they're thinking now when it comes down to 90 bucks? Buy again? Maybe. Maybe some would. At this time, their accounts are, you know, draw down at 20, 25, 30%. Maybe they're buying again. Maybe they see this rally up and they're like, oh, praise the Lord. It's coming back. My wife's not going to kill me. Yeah. Okay. So that's institutional buying coming in. So let's see what happens. Let's look at this earnings release. Really good. The one that came out on August 29th. So 2 earnings releases, so good, but price is dropping. What's going on? So this happens right as this candle is being formed. Good earnings. And look at that. Boom. Another slight dip. So those retail traders that bought this stock and thought it was going to go higher, it dropped down to 130. They bought some more. It dropped down to 90. Maybe they bought some more, or maybe they offloaded on the drop and now they're buying back in because good earnings, right? Well, what happens? What happens? Good earnings, all these good earnings. All of a sudden, look where price is slowly creeping up to. Remember the supply area here where the banks were aggressively selling? Aggressively selling. Look what happens. Price rallies up. You see that? You see where it's touching right now? You see where we're touching? That's the supply area where the banks were previously selling massively these shares. We just managed to contact this supply area right before earnings, a couple weeks before earnings are released. They sold it there. What do you think they're going to do now? See the selling coming in? So whatever shares they had that they did not offload back here in July, they rallied price up back to that exact area so they can offload the rest of their shares. But why is that? Why were they so concerned about offloading their shares? Now we're 2 weeks out from earnings, right? And supply gets hit, and take a look at where we're at now. Look at the big drop. Look at the earnings. Negative earnings. You see how they used positive earnings to offload their positions? You see how they rallied price up back into an area of supply, their selling area, to offload the rest of their shares? And then after they do so, like magic, negative earnings come out. And so that's what we have this morning, negative earnings, major. And then the articles are prices gapping down on Dell. Who could have seen this? This is terrible news for investors. Look at that. Okay, this was yesterday, sorry, if I said today. Yesterday, okay? Look at that. Look at that gap down from 145 to 124. A lot of investors got screwed. Okay? But this is the market. And if you don't understand this about the market, you have no edge. You could trade your Bollinger Bands and your SMAs and your EMAs. You could do all that. But if you don't understand what's really going on, are you going to be that guy buying because good earnings? Well, yeah. Don't you think price was above EMAs when they sold it to you? Don't you think the institutions know about your books and your EMAs and your Bollinger Bands? All these things are taken into consideration when they need to offload their positions. They make sure all those indicators are giving you thumbs ups. They make sure all the articles that come out that you read are telling you it's a great buy. This is how the system works. I'm not just thinking it's like this. I've seen it with my own eyes. And when you know what to look for on the charts, there's no mystery as to what's going on here. There's no mystery at all because you can see the buying and selling of the institutions. So it's not like, you're thinking, oh, I don't really know what's going on here because I don't see what they're doing. When you see what they're doing and you read the articles, this is what I do all day. This is my life. I investigate stuff. This is what I do. I love doing this. This is what I do for a living. I investigate things. I look at institutional buying and selling. I look at what the news is saying. I look at what the earnings are. I watch what the analysts are talking about. And when you start to see this same picture over and over and over again, you can't but help realize that um, there's heavy manipulation going on. And here's a perfect example. When I saw that, I said, I have to show everybody because this is a perfect example of what they do and how they do it. And if you knew what was going on, you would have been exiting this position. If you were long Dell, you would have exited a long time ago. You would have seen the signals a long time ago that the banks were exiting. So when they exit, you exit. You wouldn't be caught in all this drama. You wouldn't be caught with your hands, you know, all tied here with the stock dropping and being like, oh, what happened to my share? You wouldn't have been caught here because you would have never bought this stock when it was rallying into an area of supply. If you knew the supply and demand dynamics, it would be the last thing you would do is be buying the stock when it's entering into supply. All right, so I wanted to show you that. I wanted to show you what's going on here, and hopefully it'll help you and give you a better understanding of how these markets work. Because once you're properly prepared and you understand how they buy and sell, and how it's for really their own purposes and their clients' purposes, and they could care less about you and me. Once you know the game, then you know how to navigate the markets properly. All right? You want to learn more? Come and join us, whiteoakfx.com. We'd love to have you, love to teach you. We got a great special going on right now, the Black Friday special. Just go to our website, top right-hand corner, click on the Black Friday. I think we have a couple more spots for the yearly membership. Okay, $300 off yearly membership. We're not going to be offering any discounts next year, so if you want it, take it. All right, that's it. You take care. It was a pleasure. Have a good one.